A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We're here today with Matt Amundson, VP of Marketing at EverString. Matt, how's it going today, man?
Oh, spectacular. It's a beautiful Friday here in the Bay Area.
Spectacular. I love to hear that. Well, Matt, we are really excited to talk about this methodology and this go-to-market strategy that are going to share with us today on F.I.R.E. Before we get into F.I.R.E. and how we break that down, what it stands for, if you could share with our listeners what you and the team at EverString are up to these days, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, EverString evolved from sort of the predictive marketing space. Mm-hmm. What we do is we help our customers find their next customers by providing them with data that shows them who they should be targeting and when they should be targeting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this idea of using intent data intentionally has been a hot topic these days. So I think folks are going to get a lot of value on what you have to share in this area. So let's jump right in. You know, as we were chatting offline, Matt, you mentioned, really to understand this F.I.R.E. framework and how it can help you. I think having a little bit of background on, the go-to-market strategy for folks and their marketing approach over the last 10 years and how that's changing would be a great way to start the conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy to sort of give a brief lay of the land. And I think my personal background will make sense in context of how I've evolved to F.I.R.E. Mm-hmm. So, about almost 10 years ago now, I started working at a company called Marketo, which I'm sure most of the listeners know. You're probably either a Marketo, Pardot, or Eloqua user or HubSpot user for that matter. And what marketing automation did was really create this go-to-market strategy that has really become sort of the de facto go-to-market strategy for most B2B companies over the course of the better part of a decade, which was this idea that, you could create really compelling pieces of content, market those pieces of content to a wide audience, track who is engaging with that, and then use that engagement to score leads and then ultimately hand them off to an SDR or sales team and say, hey, let's prioritize our time calling on people who are the most engaged with our brand. You sort of fast forward to 2018 and times have really changed. Email inboxes are more clogged than they've ever been before. And the commoditization of content has made it so looking at content or seeing unique pieces of content is really, really difficult, right? Like it's hard to put something out that people are like, I have to download this and read this. Mm-hmm. And so open rates have gone down. Things like email nurturing has become less and less effective. And when you're making big investments in content, the ROI just isn't there the way it used to be. And so, account-based marketing has been sort of the counterculture to this sort of broad-based, lead-based marketing, right. With the idea being, let's look at target accounts, let's engage with those accounts holistically, not waste our time, money, or effort trying to go after people that ultimately can't buy from us. And so, when we thought about ABM and all the greatness associated with it, we tried to go out and attack the parts of ABM that are very confusing for people or can make ABM as a go-to-market strategy a total non-starter.
Nice. Yeah. And I think a lot of folks are talking about ABM, figuring out their account-based marketing strategy. So I'd love to dive right in, Matt, and have you kind of unpack this F.I.R.E. methodology and how that fits within this topic of ABM. So for FIRE, the F in FIRE stands for fit. So explain that concept to us.
Yeah, I mean, so I got my start in B2B being an SDR leader. And so I thought about like, what are the primary things an AE will say after a discovery call to an SDR saying, hey, here's why it's not a good fit. Here's why it's not an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to do with just the overall fit of the business, right? Like on a very obvious scale, let's say you could only sell to businesses that run Salesforce and CRM, mm-hmm. and an SDR qualifies and hands off a company that's running Microsoft Dynamics or Sugar CRM. That company is ultimately not a fit for your business. And that's like very simple, but you start to look at things that are a little bit more complex, like, does a company have multiple locations? Have they recently hired, a specific persona or executive in their business? How well funded are they? And it's sort of the amalgamation of all those factors that makes a business a good fit. And so what EverString kind of struck to do, and what the concept of fit in general is to essentially take the research that an SDR or account executive that was prospecting into an account would do and sort of replicate that for scale. So you could say, hey, look, if there's 100,000 companies that we could sell to, let's sort of dwindle that down to, let's say, 10,000 that actually look the best, right? Instead of having people go out and do that research, let's just go out, let's purchase a bunch of commercial data, let's pull that all together, let's web crawl, let's look for changes on a website or a LinkedIn profile, et cetera. And then let's bring that all in and give those insights back to an SDR or an account executive or even a marketing department to say, mm-hmm. these are the right accounts that you should be targeting. And mm-hmm. so the goal here is that if you've got your fit model tuned in well, and you've got an understanding of who the target account should be, you should never come off a call and the account executive says, hey, that company's just not a good fit to purchase from us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So starting with fit seems like it makes a lot of sense. And then in this methodology, you're going from fit to the I in FIRE, which is intent. So tell us a little bit about where folks are moving from, narrowing their focus on a target list of accounts that they know are a good fit, and now they want to narrow it from there with this idea of intent.
Yeah, so I think intent it's been around for a while, but I think only now people are really starting to harness it and make it a little bit more actionable. And it's really best when paired with fit data, because if you think about intent data is just essentially a raw feed of which companies were looking at what topic over a given period of time. So what that means is if you're a marketer and you're like, hey, I'm going to bring intent data in, I'm going to use that to inform my sales team when to reach out to somebody. Without a concept of fit, it could be anything. It could be, you might sell to financial services businesses, and this could be retail organizations or educational organizations. Mm-hmm. So by layering fit and intent together, you're saying, okay, these are the accounts that actually matter to me. And on a weekly basis, I want a refresh report inside Salesforce that shows me of the accounts that I care about, which ones are starting to surge on intent topics. So, you think about like a business like mine, I want to know when my target accounts are looking at like predictive analytics or intent data, or maybe they're looking into one of our competitors, because even though they may not have engaged with my brand yet, I know that there's an active interest in that business and potentially a project brewing. And really the intent part is the second thing that will typically have an AE shut down an SDR and say, this is not an opportunity. They might say, hey, this company's a great fit, they could totally buy from us, but they just don't want to buy right now. And so those are generally the top two reasons why something's not an opportunity. And so by including fit and intent in your overall go-to-market strategy, you can mitigate all of those accounts that either don't meet your qualification criteria, or B, don't have an active project.
Right. So it sounds like we're narrowing the focus step by step here. And the next piece of this FIRE methodology, R, is for recency. So walk us through, Matt, where folks are going from once they narrow it to accounts that are a good fit, They're looking at within those accounts that are a good fit, who is showing intent, not just on their website, but in general, across the web for the topic that you, or the problem that you can solve. They're searching on a topic that relates to your solution. Now we want to move to the R for recency.
Yeah. And I mean, this is fairly literal. Like, we just want to know when that intent was. And the cool thing about using, really great intent data, and, we've fully incorporated Bombora, who I think is the absolute best intent vendor out there. We fully incorporated that into our platform and into our go-to-market strategy. They are refreshing the intent data on a weekly basis. And if you start to think about that, like, that is truly powerful. Every week, an SDR that works here at EverString or works at one of our hundreds of customers is able to go into Salesforce and see, these are the accounts that are the best fit that I own that are searching for a product like ours or a service like ours. And that just sort of informs them on what their week is going to be. These are the people that I'm going to reach out to. These are the people that I want to spend the most time trying to engage with. And the whole idea is that it just takes that fit data, it takes that intent data and makes it extremely actionable, because more than likely, as intent and fit starts to become more and more commoditized, your competitor probably also has that data. So it begins sort of, what I refer to as the race, right? The race to see who can get there first.
Yeah. All right. And so we're going to round it out with the E of FIRE, and that is engagement. Tell us a little bit about how we get to the final step here, Matt.
Yeah. So engagement is really traditionally what B2B marketers have known as just engagement from their marketing automation platforms, right? Like tracking who's been on the website, who's downloaded what. But it's in marrying that data with the fit, intent, and recency where you start to have an understanding that, hey, this account's a great fit. They have intent, so they're looking to get a solution. That all happened recently, and they've been by our website, so they know our brand and they know our value proposition. That just means when an SDR reaches out, or when a marketing program lands in their inbox or in directly on their desk with a direct mailer, or they start seeing your ads floating around on the internet, that they know who you are, and they start to have that association with, like, oh, you know what? I was looking for a solution, and this EverString thing is here, and this guy is calling from EverString. Like, perfect. I'm going to engage with them. So engagement data will essentially inform you that, like, hey, there's a project happening. Now's the right time, and they know who we are. So, like, we better go take this thing down.
Yeah. So kind of comes full circle when you put all four of those pieces together. Matt, for folks that are interested in starting to apply this methodology, maybe they've already got an idea of their ABM strategy, what do you think are some of the first steps people can take?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to learn more, by the time this podcast goes live, we'll have a full downloadable ebook on this exact topic. So you can just further self-educate yourself. I know at the top end of the podcast, I was talking about how content's not valuable anymore. But I'm gonna still put it out there. So you can swing by, you can download that. You can follow some folks on Twitter and LinkedIn who are really, really good at this. People like Peter Herbert, who's the CMO over at Full Story. Really, anybody along the GTM team at Terminus that utilize this methodology, or Marketo Fearless Marketer, Kristen Wendell over at PlanView, who's a big purveyor of this process as well. I think, you're really going to start seeing a lot of companies sort of bend and lean towards this because it really does fully operationalize the who and the when of account-based marketing.
I love that, Matt. Well, Matt, this has been great. I think this is a topic that is top of mind for a lot of our listeners. So if folks listening to this would like to stay connected with you, follow, what you're doing, maybe some content you're putting out, even though, the value of it is degraded a little bit, as you mentioned, in the market. But if they want to engage with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that, man?
Yeah, you can certainly learn more about the process on everstring.com. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Mattia56 because I still utilize my college football number. Apparently, I think I'm 20 years old. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Matt Amundson. And if you guys are going to be in Boston coming up on August 8th, myself and Jeff Marcoux, VP of Marketing at Teletech, will be presenting on this very topic, as well as just a whole host of other awesome presenters like Maria Pergolino and John Barros, and of course the amazing Sangram Vajre. So I'm personally pumped to go, not just to present. It should be awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Our team will be there as well, Matt. So we're really looking forward to the Flip My Funnel conference. That is the perfect segue into how we're going to close out this episode. For folks listening this past week, know that we have a special promo code to the Flip My Funnel conference, as Matt mentioned, coming up August 8th in Boston. Matt's going to be speaking. The list of phenomenal speakers is lengthy. Dave Gerhardt from Drift, and a number of others that Matt already mentioned. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, no fear. You have a promo code to get 50% off the price of admission at whichever level. That promo code from us is B2B Growth. That's B, the number 2, B Growth, just like our show name of the podcast. Put that in when you check out at flipmyfunnel.com for your conference tickets, and look forward to seeing you in Boston.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B Growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B Growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.